we have borrowed more than 14 cabinet secretaries since independence. There must be a reason why we need to borrow another 3 trillion shillings on top of 6.1 trillion. Members of the Senate, what is your GDP today? Your GDP is at 10 trillion shillings. 9.8, and now we want to extend the ceiling to 9. What sort of a country does that? Now, the question that we have addressed here, how much is the budget gap, my dear colleagues? The budget gap for this financial year is 635 billion. The budget gap for the next financial year, according to the BPS, is 584.6 billion. For the following year, the budget gap is 586.8 billion, making a total of 1.2 trillion. I want you to read the report of Parliamentary Budget Office that they presented also to the National Assembly, suggesting that the debt ceiling should be at maximum of 7.5 trillion. What are we saying in terms of the minority? This is not a bill. This is not a motion. This is a gazette notice. A gazette notice that can be withdrawn tomorrow. A gazette notice that can be republished. Why are we making it look like that the country is in dire straits, as if we fail, tomorrow it will collapse? It's a lie. The country is looking up to you. In fact, in a recent article, and although we don't quote newspapers, Mbadi says Parliament blamed for debt burden, that we have given Treasury so much leeway to borrow without imposing conditions. Mr. Speaker, this is the time to impose conditions so that by the time you borrow another extra shilling from the Chinese, we interrogate as Parliament, and particularly Senate.
I had said when I was in the National Assembly, the one who will be president in 2022 will have no country to run. But it has actually come earlier. We have zero money for development. Zero. I'm telling you, zero. So if you see any road, hospital, water project, whatever you see government doing, all of this is borrowed money. Housing, we are supposed to be building 500,000 houses a year. There are only 228 units that have been built. So it is a flop. Kenyans literally have no money in their pockets. The money that is owed by county governments that has not been paid is about 90 billion. Another 54 billion is owned by the national government. A whole 150 billion, people are being auctioned because government can't pay, won't pay. Most of the money that goes to infrastructural development is development corruption. It's development corruption because it's inflated bills, starting with the SGR one, and all of the way down. We are just a huge corruption enterprise. And if nothing is done about it, really we are going the Greece way. Because even when you look at the way we have organized our political economy, everybody wants to come into government, but the motivation is not to serve, it's to eat. Now we can expand the BBI and have more mouths to feed. Maybe everybody will keep quiet. But you cannot eat that which is no longer there. We have to generate more. All of us who are here right now, each one of us owes 138,000 shillings to our lenders. Everybody who is here, 138,000, including the child who has been born today. For the longest time, I even asked Henry Rotich when he was minister, you started out very well, but you are coming to cheat us here. He said, Maura, you are the politicians who taught me how to cheat. Himself, he never lasted. He's no longer minister for finance. Ambassador Ukuri Atani was our minister here in the Ministry of Labour and Social Welfare. And I have told him as much, together with Dr. Kamau Duge. How? Let me give you a scenario so that you understand what I'm talking about. How on earth do you have a 9.8 trillion economy, borrowing now 8.4 trillion? The only economy that has borrowed 239% of its GDP, nominal GDP, is Japan. What do they produce? Look around. All of these vehicles, they are from Japan. What does Kenya produce?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Children.
You know, America is a $24 trillion economy. They borrowed over 20 trillion, but you know, they have the reserve currency, which is a dollar. So they are the only people who can print money. Look at Kenya. We have borrowed over 5 trillion shillings in the last 7 years. What is there to show for it? Other than just expanding the size of government. So yes, that video that you are seeing going viral, I spoke about it in February. In fact, Mheshimiwa Sankoko was asking me about it then. In December, it's still going viral. Why? When I spoke, some people even called me from very high offices and they were telling me, Moara, what are you saying? I said, I will stand by the truth. We are now digging our hole deeper. We have raised our debt ceiling to 9 trillion. We are now going to exhaust it. We will remain with about 800 billion. We are expanding the size of government. Why, for example, does the Ministry of Health require 98 billion? What for? When health is devolved. Come on, I mean, let's be serious. How do you explain the building of Dongokundu bypass at a cost of 1 billion per kilometer? Really? Are we joking? Look at this expressway. How much is it costing us? This is development corruption and voodoo economics. I mean, let's not just lie to Kenyans. People are just increasing their money. And finally, let me just say about this issue. Why don't we have a single treasury account? Because ministry departments and agencies are having accounts in commercial banks, right? Then the same commercial banks do not lend to Kenyans. They are holding government money, then still lending the same government money. Uhuru Atani has said now they should not expect payment on their T-bills, right? The interest rates. But who are the owners of these banks? Those are the questions. For the last 10 years, which huge multinational-like kind of company has grown out of our economy? The usual suspects, Safaricom, KCB, what have you. The only people who tried to come out was SportsPesa, Suali Nyongwa. So we are in a cartel economy. How can a young man make money anymore? How can a young woman, a person with disability make money anymore in this economy? So tuache kudanganyana bwana, hili ni ushenzi bwana. We are a broke country and nobody should lie to you. We are broke. We cannot pay. Every road you see constructed, any development money is borrowed money. We have a 3 trillion budget. 3 trillion budget, out of which 1 trillion is going back to pay debt. Within 7 years, we've grown from less than 1 trillion budget. The first budget that was read was 1.15 trillion by President Uhuru Kenyatta when he was Minister for Finance. Now we are talking about 3 trillion. How can we sustain a 3 trillion budget? From where? And yet our collection, our revenue collection, is 15% of the GDP. If you look at OECD countries, they do up to 40%, right? So if then, because of corruptions and issues of inefficiencies and non-tariff barriers, Kenyans are not able to do business. Because it's a huge corruption enterprise. We are in a hole and we are digging it deeper. I don't envy President Uhuru, by the way. I don't. This is the worst, because, you know, President Kibaki gave us a country that was, I mean, the debt there was 1.8 trillion. Yeah? And the roads had been constructed, the economy was booming. You would graduate and immediately get a job. How many Kenyans now are graduating and getting jobs? The next president, he will not do any job other than to repay debts. There's nothing is going to come out of, and now very soon the IMF is going to ask for its 400 billion back, right? The one that we borrowed through COVID. Do you know we were spending 20 billion a day during COVID times? 20 billion a day. I mean, this is a joke and a serious one. There must come a time when we must put the country first. And let us not lie to each other. We can concoct about BBI and what have you, but the truth of the matter is, things are